What's going on, guys? Chuck here, back with another installment of taking a look at my collection. So let's just get right into it. The next section, this is going to start off with Disney flavor, as we've got the Platinum edition of Aladdin, Platinum DVD edition of Aladdin. A great, Disney film, part of the Disney Renaissance, a huge one. Um, Again, like I was saying, at the time I was collecting, Disney films, DVD was the big thing, and I was trying to get the best edition out there, and I had to do a lot of research to find out which ones were which. Of course, not everything is released on Platinum, not everything is released on different labels, but um, yeah, this was it. This is a great movie. Obviously, Robin Williams is the 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 heart and soul of this film. um, I know there's obviously Blu-rays. I'm not sure if there is a 4K. There probably is. I should do an upgrade. But you're gonna find a lot with these Disney films that I have. I'm very hard pressed to upgrade just because why I'm looking for the more, obviously the better picture and sound quality. The problem I have with is a lot of times the special features don't always port over to the newer editions. You lose a lot of special features. When I did Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, which I probably upgraded like 2 or 3 times, I had a hard time because some features were just missing. And I really had to, have a tug of war with myself on, do I get this, do I not, and I find a lot with Disney stuff. Like I said, a lot of their, I wish that every new iteration, all their old archival features would just port over and you just keep getting it or adding more to it along with the better picture and sound quality, but that doesn't seem to be the case. So I'm very hard, I don't say hard pressed or hesitant, but hesitant is really probably the key word to upgrade, but I'm sure eventually I will get to it when I get to it. So, next up is when I am upgrading because they just released or announced the 4K. This, which is I find funny because this came right, excuse me, uh, just before the announcement that Disney had laid off a lot of their physical media staff or department, whatever it was, and that is the Alice in Wonderland. And this is the Masterpiece Edition. It's a 2 disc set. This is a pretty loaded DVD. A lot of bonus features on here. A nice slipcover. But yeah, they just announced a 4K for this. I pre-ordered that, so I'm gonna grab that. I think it's probably a good time to get it now. And you see, it's a new 2 disc set available for a limited time only. That's the other problem with Disney. With all their physical media releases, always a limited time. The dreaded Disney Vault. But I'm probably sure I probably got this second hand. Okay, next up was a recent release from Arrow. This is the 4K Alice, Sweet Alice, also known as, was it First Communion, I believe. The film gets advertised as, starring Brooke Shields, which it does not. She's in dare I say, 15 minutes, and that's probably being generous. But it's a nice little underrated slasher film. I don't call it a slasher necessarily. I don't think full on slasher in the term that we would think of a slasher. But it's still a nice little mystery slasher, maybe we'll combo of both. I don't know, but it's definitely fun. This is a great 4K. Okay, this one is a huge set. Well, huge set, not really, but I had this on a DVD. I picked up this DVD version of this initially at Sam's Club. It was on sale at the time, and that is the Alien Quadrilogy. Now, this is the slimmed down Blu-ray. The DVD set I had was huge, and it folded out, just way big. Back when they made those big book style DVD sets, like a lot of early TV sets, where like that Star Trek Next Generation was a prime example of that. The first release of that, each season was a gateway fold out. It had 7 discs, and that's how the quadrilogy DVD set was. But and that was a great set. There's so many special features, different versions of the film. It's a great set. And this is the exact same thing, except it's the Blu-ray version and slimmed down considerably. I like it. I didn't miss anything on this. I love that. The holographic cover. I still got the back, the specs in here. And this is a nice This is the book here. This is actually kind of like the Star Wars saga set they had with the disc in the booklet there, which is pretty cool. I'm going to go back and check these out. I haven't seen these in a while. And of course, it's just the first 4 Alien films with director's cuts of at least the first 2, and they had that special I don't know, work print or whatever it was of Alien 3, and Alien Resurrection is what it is. But this is a very nice set. Speaking of Alien, we have Alien versus Predator. This is the unrated edition DVD, and this you see this was secondhand. I got all this extra tape and glue. Which one thing I have a problem with when it comes to my DVDs or Blu-rays, especially when I'm buying from the store, was the stickers. I hate the stickers, the price stickers. The ones that don't come off, the ones you gotta just try and peel. Best Buy was horrible. Some of these, especially put them on the slips. Before I even knew or worried about slip covers, or I just didn't like because they would peel off and you couldn't. They would leave residue, and it drove me crazy. I also hate when the plastic isn't all off. I hate when the security tape is still here. I've known people who've just split it down here and just opened it that way and never ripped off the security. That drives me crazy. I can't stand it. I hate when you peel off and there's still like maybe a little film of plastic here won't rip off. I have to have it all. It drives me crazy. But anyways, Alien versus Predator. I don't think it's a well thought of movie. I don't know. Maybe it is. I saw this at the drive-in when it came out. I had a lot of fun with it. It's silly fun. I don't know what you expect out of it, but this is a 2-disc set. Some good special features I think on here. Yeah, you got some good stuff on here. But this was fun. Nothing to write home about, but again, it is what it is. It didn't have to be anything else. Then you have the underrated version of Alien versus Predator AVP Requiem. I've never seen this in the theater. I don't remember a whole lot about this movie, to be perfectly honest. I remember they're on Earth. There's like a hybrid alien. I don't know. I have to go back and say that I've not seen this in a while, but the plastic's ripping on here too. This is a beat up case. But oh, it has a digital copy too. I didn't realize that. Look at that. Even for the DVD, it was a digital copy back then. Next up I got this from Vinegar Syndrome way back when on a sale. They still had the slipcover available. Kathy Ireland, Alien from LA. This is a film I used to see on, I think it was on Showtime. It used to come on all the time as a kid. And it was a wacky, weird movie. But it was when it was on Mystery Science Theater that really did it for me. It made me realize how silly this film really was. And then, this just seemed like an ideal pickup from Vinegar Syndrome when it came out. Like I said, it was on sale. And I like this movie. It's fun. And Kathy Ireland's just Kathy Ireland. Okay, I think an underrated sci-fi film, at least I think it is. I don't hear a lot of people talk about it, which spawned a really good TV show, which only lasted 1 season and had like 5 TV movies, though. Of course, talking about Alien Nation with James Caan, Mandy Patinkin, and Terrence Stamp. This is a really good sci-fi film. If you've never seen it, check it out. It's the far future, like 1997, maybe. Far future, yeah. 99, maybe. I don't know. Aliens have basically migrated to Earth and they've assimilated to our culture. And now we're living in a world just inhabited, humans and aliens, and they're it's basically they're treated as illegal aliens in a sense. They all have jobs, but they all have the papers and they're being discriminated against. And it's a great scientific allegory. And, you have James Caan as a human cop doesn't want to work with Mandy Patinkin, who was the, what were they called? I can't remember what their race was called. They were called newcomers. That was like in the TV series, we always called it newcomers. But I know they had an alien name. I can't remember what it were. But anyways, Mandy Patinkin's his partner, and they had to solve this crime of this, crazy drug that's being put out there and killing everybody. It's a fun movie. Who directed this? Graham Baker, never heard of him. I don't know what else he's done besides this. But like I said, it spawned a TV series, which was on Fox for one season, which I had the complete season, complete series with Garrett Graham, and I can't remember who played George Francisco in that series, but it's a really good series. It's done by Kevin Johnson. Kevin Johnson did The Incredible Hulk v. And then again, it spawned 5 TV movies. So the Alien Nation's a great little franchise that no one talks about, but they should really go back and revisit. Next up is a little Steve Martin comedy that I love. I love Steve Martin, and this was something I picked up from Umbrella. I was kind of surprised it did such a fancy edition of this. I also think that Vestron released not so long ago one of their Vestron collection. Of course, this is All of Me, Carl Reiner film with starring Lily Tomlin and Steve Martin. Steve Martin plays a lawyer to Lily Tomlin's rich heiress who's about to die, but she's going to transfer her soul into Victoria Tennant so she can live on. But things go awry, and her soul ends up being trapped in Roger Cobb, I believe his name is. Not to be confused with Roger Cobb from House, but Steve Martin's character, and it's a half and half split. It's in the physical comedy that Steve Martin has to do as he's portraying Lily Tomlin's character and himself is a lot of fun. This again, a movie I used to watch all the time on cable. I had a really bare bones DVD of this, and this is again Umbrella is a great. Again, they did a little booklet, slipcover, a nice little. I mean, this was like a limited run of this, and I was able to pick this up, and I really like this a lot. I love this movie. Again, most Steve Martin stuff I'm a sucker for. Okay, up next, one I just recently got, and it's a great political thriller, and it's All the President's Men with Robert Redford and Dustin Hoffman. Great, political, like I said, political thriller dealing with the investigation into the Watergate scandal with Woodward and Bernstein, and it was the Washington Post, and uncovering the whole, what happened there. And it's really, I mean, this is from like when did this come out? I can't remember the exact year, 70, sometime in the late 70s. Maybe 76, 77, somewhere in there. I don't remember. But just rewatching it recently after I got this, which this 4K looks great, by the way. It's just a great. It just feels of its time. I mean, seeing the newsroom, the way these reporters are doing investigating, it really gives you an appreciation for what good journalism is supposed to be about. Something that's kind of overlooked and forgotten about in today's society, where it's more about sensationalism than getting at the truth. And that's what All the President's Men is really about: is digging at and finding the truth of what really happened. So this is, if you've never seen All the President's Men, I highly recommend it. Next, we have a classic creature feature, which I had known about for years. I don't think I had ever seen it in entirety. I want to say, no, it wasn't until I got this. Not long after I got this, and it showed up on Last Drive-In, but as Alligator from 1980. This is a great creature feature film, and I was amazed when Scream Factory released a 4K of this, because I don't know if it had a Blu-ray release prior. I know it was like one was hard to obtain, or was out of print. But this was a great release, and actually, come to think of it, this is one I had to go back and watch the 4K, because I only saw a Blu-ray. When I bought the set, I didn't have a 4K player, so I just watched a Blu-ray on it. So yeah, I should really go back and check out the 4K now I think about it. There's a couple of these I bought pre-4K, just preparing myself, and I just watched them right away, and I never saw the 4K. So this is one of those I have to remedy that. And of course, with Alligator, I had to get Alligator 2: The Mutation, which this is I don't know what this is. It's not bad. It's not great either, but it's fun. It's silly, goofy fun. Honestly, it's definitely a different tone from the first Alligator, but it's enjoyable. So you're Alligator 2: The Mutation. And then we have, this is a Best Buy. Now I had this DVD. I believe I had the DVD of this one, and it's almost famous as the bootleg. I think it was called Unknown or something like that, Untitled, that DVD set. But this is basically the same thing as the bootleg cover, we'll call it. But this is a Best Buy exclusive. I still got that sticker. I haven't tried to peel that sticker off because I'm afraid it's going to just tear and leave residue. But yeah, $19.99, not bad. If it was a Best Buy exclusive, first time on Blu-ray. Look at that. This is a fun movie too. Cameron Crowe, and it was it Kate Hudson? Yeah. Well, yeah, includes unrated director's edition with over 30 minutes of additional footage. So yeah, Almost Famous. You know, it's well known for its tiny dancer scene and a lot of our stuff, but definitely check it out. Okay. Here's one I had never heard of until I saw that Kino was releasing it. And it's a case of, okay, this is a genre of film I like to collect. Whether I've seen it or not, I want to get it. And it's the kind of a high school coming of age comedy, good, bad, indifferent, whatever. And this was one I'd never heard of called Almost Summer. And this surprising because this starred a few people that, I knew who I was fairly familiar with. For instance, Bruno Kirby, who was from The Godfather Part 2, and I think it was in Harry Met Sally, and a couple other things. You know him if you've seen him, although very young, maybe not. Tim Matheson is in this, but you also have, is her name on here listed? Didi Khan from, Frenchie from Grease. But it's basically like, it's a high school, these kids are not high schoolers, but just like kids in high school, and have it, you have the main actor or main character, Bruno Kirby. He's like the cool guy in school. As Bobby DeVito is his name, which if anyone is familiar with the Grind Bin podcast, which I am, a guest on occasionally, they talk about, movies, mostly, exploitation or just crazy bad movies. I've been trying to get them to do this movie just because of the fact of the character named Bobby DeVito, which, if you're familiar with that, is a running gag because that whole podcast was based on the movie The Van, which starred or has a kid named Bobby who's driving a van, but it also has Danny DeVito. So the kind of became, the Bobby DeVito would just it's become a running gag throughout the show. It's like, you got to get this because Bobby DeVito was in this movie. But anyways, this is a nice little release from Kino Lorber, Almost Summer. I kind of forgotten about, I never even heard of it, but I enjoyed it a lot. It's cute. And then here was one I had never seen, but I always saw clips from it when I would see Terror in the Aisles. And I always wondered what those clips of that movie were from. And I finally found out, and I could never find it. And finally, Scream Factory, many years ago, released it on a special edition Blu-ray, which I was very excited about. Of course, I had a hard time getting it. It was shipped to me. Actually, I think I ordered it through Amazon, though. I think I ordered from Scream directly at the time, which most of my stuff I order from Scream Factory, I get it from Amazon because it just works out better for me a lot of times. But anyways, and the shipment got stuck, lost somewhere. I had to reorder it, got credit for it. And then finally, like a month after I ordered the first one, and I got my second one, that first one finally showed up on my doorstep. But anyways, it's Alone in the Dark with Jack Palance, Donald Pleasance, Martin Landau, Dwight Schultz. It's a great little, I cannot hesitate to call it a slasher, but you've got I'm not sure where you categorize it, but it's an interesting little movie. We have some patients who escaped a mental facility, and they're just, running wild trying to get to Dwight Schultz and his family. It's pretty fun. Next up, we have a comedy classic, one I've loved forever. As a kid, this is another Kino Lorber release. Once they announced this years before I was really, again, a collector. But it announces I had to have it because I've always loved this movie so much, and that is Amazon Women on the Moon. This as a kid, I would watch this constantly. The opening bit with Arsenio Hall having the really bad day is always funny. That was a Blacks with No Soul bit is funny. There was the Russ Meyer thing at the end with Mark McClure from Superman, getting his personal, VHS tape. You have an appearance from Anodized Clay in here. The Video Pirates Son of the Invisible Man, I think is this. So many different skits throughout here, and so many different major stars doing these bits. And you had like 4 different directors, or Joe Dante. Who all directed this? They've been on here. Joe Dante, Carl Gottlieb, Peter Horton, John Landis, and Robert K. Weiss doing a lot of, or each directing different segments of the film. And it's a lot like a modern Kentucky Fried Movie, but maybe not as raunchy as Kentucky Fried Movie. But it's a lot of fun, and I've always enjoyed this one. To me, it still holds up. It's just great fun. Up next, one I had never heard of, but when I was buying another film similar to it, Amazon popped this up for me in my recommendations, and I said, well, okay, I'm going to grab it. And it is American Drive-In. Now, I've mentioned this in the video before. We're talking about with this and the film that I was discussing, or with the movie I was trying to buy or was buying, which was Drive-In. I talked about those two on a video together. And this one is okay. I'm afraid it's not quite sure what it wants to be sometimes, whether it wants to be comedy or drama or what. But the most notable thing about this film is the film within the film. You're going to see Hard Rock Zombies 1 and 2. That's the movies playing at this drive-in. And you're seeing scenes in this movie, seeing scenes of those movies on the drive-in screen. Well, why that's important is because when they were filming that in the film, they were having so much fun, they decided to make a full-length film. And eventually, there was a film called Hard Rock Zombies. So it's the same film that's in this, which I also have and I've talked about as well. So that's what makes this film interesting. Other than that, go with Drive-In. It's the better film. Speaking of drive-ins, where were you in 1962? We've got American Graffiti on 4K, the George Lucas classic. This was the 50th anniversary edition too. And this is a film that the more I watch it, the more I enjoy. I think it's a case of you have to get older to appreciate the nostalgia aspect of it, even though it takes place in the 50s. But I think everyone can relate to the leaving high school and going on where your life's gonna go from there, no matter what the era or time or whatever the case may be. But yeah, the older I get, it really sticks with me more and more. And this is a really good movie. A great performance, Ron Howard. You have Harrison Ford in here, Richard Dreyfuss, just the Wolfman Jack, Daddy. So American Graffiti, great film. Here's one I saw in a theater, and I think it'd be highly controversial today if it had been released now. I think it could be released now. Or if it was released now, it would be with someone with a lot of guts doing, and that is American History X with Edward Norton and Edward Furlong, and Stacy Keach also, and Avery Brooks from Star Trek Deep Space Nine, which one of the reasons why I saw this because Avery Brooks. But yeah, this is all about Edward Norton's character is, he's a racist and a gang member, white supremacist who basically gets put in jail. He comes out and he's reformed, he's changed his ways, but he sees his little brother who's kind of falling down the wrong path, and he's trying his best to stop that. And it's a really good, powerful movie. I've heard there was some controversy in this with Edward Norton, which there tends to be a lot of with Edward Norton, going in and maybe rewriting it, trying to do his, basically put too much of his creative touch into it. So I don't know what the outcome is supposed to be, but I know this one is what came out is really good. I do like it's got a really hard, powerful ending. Great performance from Edward Furlong and Edward Norton especially, but it's really good. And this is an old, was it New Line Cinema? Nothing much on here special feature wise. You delete the scenes and that's it. This is one I would like to see someone put out like a special edition. Maybe find out a little more history on this because it would warrant. Because this is like an old New Line, like snappers. Look at that, everything's falling out of here. Well, DVD catalog for New Line and Warner Brothers, even way back then. Wow, interesting. See some of the stuff in there. Oh my gosh, you can mail away. Pretty cool. But yeah, a little snap. Now, like I said, I don't like snapper cases, so that's the reason why I like to upgrade this. I mean, for nostalgia reasons, people probably love this like the first kind of DVDs that were known or out there. What does this go? I don't know. That way. But these are hard to shelve because you put something next to them. This little thing kind of gets in the way when you're trying to slide stuff next to it, but I don't care for it. But hey, it's okay. So, yeah, American History X. And the next up was film was not her best picture. So a couple years back, it had 10 Academy Award nominations, won none of them, which is a shame. But a film I really enjoyed a lot, and that's American Hustle. A great cast in here. Where you got Bradley Cooper, Amy Adams, Christian Bale, Jeremy Renner, and Jennifer Lawrence. I mean, a great cast. And I think it's been forgotten about. It was really popular when it came out because it had 10 nominations. I think it was the most nominations that year's ceremony. Didn't win one of them, but it's too bad. But this is a great movie about 70s hustle. And the last group on here is kind of like the last one. I had a grouping of movies in the last one, but this one here's the American Pie 4-film Blu-ray collection. Now I had all these individual discs. But again, I was trying to conserve space. Probably not the only one to do, but I figured it's American Pie. It's whatever. And the good thing is this basically all those original discs combined, so I didn't lose anything by doing that. They just put it in a smaller case, but kept all the features. So yeah, all 4 of the classic American Pie films. None of that straight to DVD nonsense. Just the the original ones. So that is it for section 2. Chapter 2 of my collection. Hope you're enjoying it. If you stoke some nostalgia in you, let me know. I'd love to hear about it. I mean, I love going through these and having some memories of the film. Maybe if I can remember anything about them, where I got them, or history, or a story, personal. It's great to come back and relive those memories, and just take a look what's on here. If you enjoyed it, click thumbs up, share, subscribe, leave me a comment below. Let me know if there's anything here that you have fond memories of, that you remember seeing, that you'd like to see again, or just say hi. I'll always take hi. Until next time, this is Chuck saying I will see you on the other side.